One of the main reasons why I like Siren so much is because not only is she possibly one of the kindest characters, if not the kindest character in Nikke, but one of the most sensible kind characters I've ever seen in fiction. And that's because while she does have a heart of gold, while she is willing to give people multiple chances and look at like the best in people, even when they're trying to push her away, she isn't just kind to just about anyone. She's a really good judge of character and is able to understand which people deserve her kindness, like truly deserve her kindness, and which people don't, which avoids making her into that annoying trope that D&D players will probably be familiar with, the lawful stupid, or the exceedingly good character that makes exceedingly stupid decisions because they decided to be kind to people who genuinely don't deserve it, or in situations which anyone with two brain cells could figure out that a more kind-hearted, gentle, and caring approach is just not appropriate, you know? And this is shown pretty well in her development, as at the beginning of the story in Old Tales, which is the event that introduces her, Siren has explained in my Cinderella video, together with her other friends Hansel and Gretel, don't forgive Cinderella right away. They fail to see like Cinderella and instead still look at her as an Akiro. And not only that, they fail to see the true evil that was at their side all along in the form of red shoes. And when Siren realizes that, when she realizes that not only did she not suspect the person she should be blaming for all of what happened, but actively pushed away a person that genuinely did not deserve it, she vowed to never do so again, which set her exactly on that path to become this character I saw, and many of you also saw in her main event, Unbreakable Bubble. And the first signs of this development were showcased on exactly the side story that came before that event and still like obviously involved her as a protagonist, Mudfish, in which after being saved by Leviathan, she is at first frightened by the girl's red eyes, as she recognizes those as the eyes of corruption, the eyes of a heretic, and initially tries to kill her. But after obviously realizing that that was all a ploy to get her to be afraid and like flee, instead of an indication that she was a legitimately bad person, she obviously completely switches her attitude and tries to like earn her forgiveness for like her initially aggressive treatment, no matter how justified it was, as well as to get close to that girl, no matter how much she rejects her, and help her, no matter how little she herself believes in her own salvation. And what this tells is exactly what I introduced at the beginning, that the events of Old Tales really shaped her as much as she claims they did. As she now not only refuses, no matter what happens, to not extend her hand, to not help someone who genuinely needs to, but obviously in a way that isn't stupid. If she has reason to be aggressive, if she has reason to treat someone poorly or to consider someone an enemy, she isn't going to, oh, from the kindness of my heart, I'm going to look at the non existent light on this person and find it in me to forgive that. No, she is going to treat what she perceives as an enemy as an enemy. But if she genuinely, and I do mean genuinely, sees light in that person, if she genuinely gets indication that they are an actually good person, even if flawed, she will try her best to help them, no matter what. However, one of the other things that she learned from old tales is obviously forgiveness, which is also a very important part of kindness. As when Leviathan, despite her many protests that she could do it, that she was able to fight alongside her, is paralyzed by fear, she Siren does not hold that against her. She understands why Leviathan did what she did and still considers her a genuine friend despite the bad situation she put her in. And you might criticize that, arguing that, oh, but this doesn't make sense. Like, this person's practically a saint. Like, no one would be like this kind just because of one event in their life. No one would have such an attitude just because of one trauma or one event, no matter how important that was. And not only that, but that level of kindness, of understanding, even with that caveat of, oh no, I understand when people genuinely deserve kindness and when they don't, still feels too much saint like. She doesn't feel human, almost like a Mary Sue. And her main event, Unbreakable Bubble, exactly serves to not only further develop and show that extreme kindness of hers in her interactions with Mihara, Yuni, and especially Mori, but to exactly further humanize it. We are shown that these traits that she has of being able to be a good judge of character or of having this kind heart in the first place did not come out of nowhere. They, of course, were reinforced by the traumatic events involving Cinderella and Old Tales, but they were always there. To a lesser extent, Siren was always this forgiving person, shown by how she, no matter how many times she is pranked by the twins Hansel and Gretel, she understands that at the end of the day, those are only jokes and that they really like her, and thus learns to forgive even some of their meanest jokes. The same thing with her kindness. Abe was not only very important to Cinderella, but to all of the second generation Greens models that she created. And so, knowing that Siren had this overwhelming power of the Kotodama, the power to literally command people with her voice, right? She always raised her and emphasized to her that she needed to, at any cost, keep her soul clean, keep her heart kind, which instilled in her these values that we see today. Not only that, but Abe even instilled in her, even taught her how to be a good judge of character, as she always worried that, due exactly to that kind nature, as well as her more demure and shy personality, that she would be taken advantage of. So she always also emphasized to her that she should not only be kind, but surround herself with kind people. Again, further justifying that character trait. But every Mary Sue has their justifications, right? So this doesn't prove anything. But what genuinely helps to not only make sense but humanize Siren's kindness is the events of Unbreakable Bubble proper, as we see her like tell white lies because she thinks that that's what will be the best for her friends, even if she understands that lying itself is a bad thing. She, for example, also admits to her more welcoming demeanor to the three guests being somewhat fueled by selfishness as well, as after being stuck in gluttony for so long, she felt blessed to have other people to talk to again, further justifying her behavior by not only giving her noble reasons to be this kind, selfless, and welcoming, but also more personal, selfish reasons to want to be friends and to interact and to have this good relationship with all of them. Not only that, but we see Siren go through that very common arc of these more like selfless characters of, oh, you shouldn't die for your friends or loved ones, you should have the strength to live for them, i.e. Shiro Emiya's entire arc. But what I like specifically about Siren is that Shift Up proves that such an arc can be introduced, developed, and reach its predictable but satisfying conclusion without needing so much time, without needing to be dragged out throughout the story, without needing to be frustrating, as Shiro's journey felt to a lot of people. Not me, by the way, but just the fact that they were able to essentially take Shiro's arc, introduce it, develop, and finish it in a very satisfying way with Siren in such an compressed span of time compared to his arc is something that even as a Shiro fan I just have to praise. Like the fact that Shift Up's writers were able to do that, it shouldn't be surprising at this point that the writers are good, but man, they simply surprise me with how talented they are every single time. It's amazing. And the final scene where we see her reunion with like Cinderella after so long, and when Mori says, "Well, you sure are glad you decided to live now, aren't you?" Like it's a very cheeky, it's very funny, but it's also a very nice and genuinely heartwarming like conclusion exactly to that plot point. To be frank, Mori's arc and like every single character in that event is good, but Mori's arc is also something I genuinely just loved. Like it's again like most of Nikke, very cliche, but also very well done, man. But I'm getting off track. I should talk about that later. But for now, I think I well, at least I hope I was able to transmit to you why exactly I think Siren is not only Nikke's kindest character, as most of the fanbase seems to regard her now, including me, by the way, but also why I think that kindness is so sensible and well implemented and developed in the story, making her genuinely one of my personal favorite kind characters in fiction. Furthermore, while I don't like her design as much as Cinderella, of course, I genuinely think it's very well done. I don't have anything too unique to say about it, but it's one of those things. Like, there isn't anything that particularly stands out, but what's there is very good. Like the fact that she rides on her bubble, like using it for locomotion, and that she always has then around her, showing not only her control but also her familiarity with her powers, her almost innate understanding of how they work. The glowing black like bodysuit akin to a very sexy like a version of a diving suit, which combined with the more greenish highlights in the design helps to like hark back together with the bubbles, of course, to that idea of the Little Mermaid, the Siren, which is the concept she's based on. Like it all coalesces into a very unique, recognizable, appealing in more ways than one, and genuinely fitting design. Like if I if this character didn't exist and someone asked me to imagine how a Little Mermaid type character would be implemented as an Nikke, I think my idea would be pretty close to the design they came up with it. It's just very good. And again, combined with all her powers, like her literal siren's voice, the bubbles, and everything I already said, just cements that even more. It's a really, like, a genuinely good design. I think no matter by which angle you look at it from, by which standards you apply to it, which is why it's, if I had to give it a grade, would get either a very solid 8 or a somewhat weak 9. That said, her dress design, unlike Cinderella's dress design, which I had a lot of good things to say, unfortunately, I think falls flat. Like, I love the pose and I love the smile, and that background with the like fish and corals made out of bubbles in order to again hark even more to that Little Mermaid inspiration is just amazing. I love it. But the actual design of the dress is just, I get what they were going for. Like they are obviously trying to go for a more like mermaid inspired design, which is still functional and allows her to obviously shoot and attack, which is why they have that very transparent but very like fluffy one-legged dress design, which allows for a lot more flexibility, harkens back to that again mermaid tail that was obviously the inspiration, while also adding that bit of sexiness of one leg is more covered than the other, but even the leg that it's more covered in a more transparent dress, so it's still super sexy. The chest is very exposed, again referencing back to that usual trope of mermaids having a seashell like bra, which is obviously very revealing, even more than a normal bikini top. So I can see what they were going for, but it's one of those cases where like the ideas are good, but the execution and the union of those ideas just falls flat. You know, like this dress just looks ugly, especially in her shooting pose. Like that, Nikke can make genuinely good looking tongs. Okay, I'm just going to say it. I genuinely like their tongue like designs, but I'm sorry, this is just disgusting. This isn't sexy. This is just why. And what frustrates me even more about this dress is that again it has a lot of thought put into it, but it really didn't need to. Like we're literally talking about the Little Mermaid, like Siren. Her whole background is literally her like inside the ocean. Again, I get it from a marketing perspective. They probably want to keep open the opportunity of in a future summer event like making a bikini out for even more money, right? But this costume already costs 60 goddamn dollars. Like you're already going to make a ton of money out of it. Why wait that long? Heck, why not even just make it anyway and give it a second design? Why again waste all this effort into such a complex dress full of thought and meaning and a bunch of design inspirations, etc., that looks terrible instead of just going for the obvious, which would be a lot better looking and a lot easier to design, which is obviously to put Siren in a bikini or a one piece swimsuit or even a sexy diving suit like the one Mast wears in her costume. Like literally anything ocean themed would have been better, easier, and much more appealing of a design than this mishmash of poorly executed ideas that we unfortunately got. Would you want to make a dress this badly? Why not just go for, again, the obvious but very good looking option of simply picking one of those one piece, like white beach dresses that are so iconic to anime characters and simply making a black and more transparent version for Siren that again would look 100 times better. It would be 100 times easier to design, and it would still be very fitting for the character. I'm sorry about this long rant about something that isn't really that important. I mean, most people, even those who get Siren, will not get this costume for obvious reasons. So it's not that big a deal. Heck, some might even say it's a good thing that it looks terrible because it saves people money. But I just had to rant about this because, like I said, Shift Up is a company filled with so much genuine talent from the design and the story and the character standpoint that when something in Nikke is so genuinely and objectively terrible, it just stands out to me. Even if it isn't like I'm exaggerating for emphasis, but this isn't that bad. Like it would be like a 5 or 6 out of 10 even in my grades. But the fact that we have again a 5 to 6 out of 10 in a game and especially in an event like filled with 10 out of 10s or even higher across the board just stands out in a bad way, you know? Which is why I had to make this whole rant about something that, let's be real, is pretty minor in the grand scheme of things. But yeah, in general, I have to say that, as you could probably guess just from watching the video, I really like Siren. Not as much as like Cinderella, of course. In fact, if I brought up that hypothetical Nikkei list, right, she would probably be at the bottom of the top 20. Like in a list of all Nikkeis from my least liked one to my most liked one, she would be at the very bottom of top 20, which is still pretty impressive given that it's a list obviously composed of more than 100 characters, but it just goes to show how much I like this game, how much I like the characters in this game, and how much, like I emphasized before, I genuinely think there's so much talent in so many areas of this game that even a character I can talk pretty much just endless praise about in a video like this still would get only the top 20. That's how good some of the other characters in this game are. But yeah, I think that's enough glazing for today. Like, even if you're a Siren fan, I think this might have been a little much. But I just wanted to emphasize with this video how much I like the character and the event. And yeah, I think hopefully I was able to convey that to you throughout this video. Hopefully. And to the people who are maybe, I don't know, going to ask, yes, obviously I'll make a Mori video. It won't be the next video in this series, but yeah, I'll definitely make one at some point. Don't worry about that. And that will be it for today. If you like this video, please draw the normal YouTube stuff, like, comment, subscribe, etc. And I genuinely do hope to see you next time. If you really liked it, I'd also really appreciate if you could support me financially, either through a one-time paid comment donation or by joining my membership, where for $1 a month, you get to participate in exclusive polls in order to decide which videos I'll make next. Like, which of my plans should I focus on? Which of the content I have in mind do you want to see first? You know, that kind of thing. As well as get your name put in this fancy little screen right here. You know, just as a small gesture of appreciation, exactly for your monthly support. But of course, no matter how much you choose to give me, as well as if you choose to give me anything at all, do know that I really appreciate any cent you're willing to throw my way, as well as just the fact that you're watching this video up to this point at all. But with all that stuff out of the way, I think it's finally time to, as always, bid you guys farewell. Obscure Anime out.